We moved our family to Portugal on the Digital Nomad Residency Visa in just 6 months. The Digital Nomad DN or D8 visa has 2 types, either a short stay or a residency. The process is really straightforward and it's easy to do yourself. The requirements are all online and there are tons of resources, including some amazing Facebook groups. That said, we are not lawyers and our method is not guaranteed, especially because the visa is still pretty new and the requirements are changing, and it even changes depending on which offices you're applying at. So please keep that in mind. First, start planning. Tons of expats end up disappointed after moving their whole life to another country. So invest your time and energy in the planning phase. Figure out your budget and what you need to live your ideal life. Take a scouting trip and use the full 90 days of a tourist visa to give yourself enough time to feel out the vibes and find your community. As we'd both visited Portugal before, and Carl had a specific jiu-jitsu gym in mind, we already knew what neighborhood we wanted to be in. Then, book your VFS appointment, but start looking earlier. We wanted to move in October, but when we booked our appointment, the earliest availability was not until December. Then, begin prepping your application. These are the things you'll need to include in the application. A couple things are more time sensitive or take the most time. And one of the most fun and stressful parts was locking down our 1-year rental contract. The rental market is competitive. We worked with a wonderful realtor, Natalia, to help us look since we weren't in Portugal. It took us about 2 to 3 months to find and get a contract for our apartment, just in time for our visa appointment. We'll put Natalia's contact info in the description. There's a few companies that can help you get a NIF or Portuguese bank account while outside of Portugal. We used Border, and the whole process takes about 1 to 2 months. And for the accompanying family application, one of your copies of the marriage certificate should be apostille, and that takes at least a couple of weeks. For more details and a handy timeline, check out our blog. Then attend your VFS appointment with all the papers ready. They'll provide a checklist for the order they want everything in. And note that my Digital Nomad checklist and the accompanying family checklist was slightly different. Our appointment was in the San Francisco office and took under an hour itself, but our appointment was delayed a couple hours due to understaffing. You can submit your passport with your application, or to be 100% safe, you can hold on to your passport until the visa is actually approved. But for us, we had no travel plans, so to be a little bit more efficient, we just submitted ours with our application. Then wait for the visa. And this is the hardest part because there's no real-time tracking. We waited with no news for over a month before Carl finally got an email stating he needed to send proof of familial ties, which we already did. So we resubmitted the marriage certificate immediately, but didn't get any response. So over the weeks, we kind of emailed back and forth and still no update on the visa. It wasn't until one day Carl was just refreshing the UPS tracking and he was like, "Your visa is due to come tomorrow." And that's how we found out our visa was approved. We waited a total of 62 days. With visa in hand, you can start the process for your pup. Kaka moved from Bali to the US when she was just a puppy, so she had a little experience, but this is still always hard. Don't start this pup process until after you have the visa in hand. Otherwise, the timing could get kind of tricky and costly. Transportation. Decide on how to transport your dog depending on your dog's size, breed, the airline, and your financial ability. We flew TAP as it had a direct flight from SFO to Lisbon with Kaka as excess baggage. And with any commercial flight, you'll need to get an airline-approved crate. At only 40 pounds, Kaka isn't so big, like a medium dog, but the crate was size large. So I can imagine it's quite difficult to find crates for larger dogs. You'll need to schedule a health check within 30 days of your intended travel date. Because international health certificates are such a pain, less and less vets are doing them. The vet we used last time when prepping for Japan no longer did them, so we ended up with yet another brand new vet to do the health check for Portugal. You'll need a microchip and a microchip certificate. Luckily, we still have the microchip certificate from when Kaka was adopted in Bali, but we've always had trouble with her microchip. Even though it's a standard ISO chip, every other vet we've seen couldn't get a proper reading of the chip. Because of that, we've taken videos of her getting microchip scanned at a couple different places as a safety measure. USDA certified. Depending on the vet you use, either they or you will have to send the health certificate to USDA to get it stamped. Then this certificate is now valid for 10 days. And at least 48 hours prior to your flight, you'll need to notify Portugal Airport Vet of arrival. Fill out their form and send an email with a copy of everything. Finally, flying. At the check-in counter, Tat made copies of all her paperwork and checked in Kaka. And upon arrival, we picked her up at the oversized baggage area. Then went to the airport vet, where they scanned her microchip successfully and looked over the paperwork and wrote us up a certificate to show to customs on the way out. And that was it. We walked through customs and showed them the paper and they waved us through. And all of that took us 6 months to get to Portugal. We have an even more in-depth guide online on our blog, so you can plan to move to Portugal just as efficiently. Subscribe to find out if our move to Portugal was worth it and what our first impressions are. Bye!